I don't care. I worry about us. I don't care about them anymore.
No, no, exactly. So let's have a quick chat about the actual goals then. So Kane's goal, what did you make of that first one?
Um, Classic transition goal from us. Everything that you would want. Great carrying by Kulusevski. Uh, Not the cleanest strike from Kane, but
No,
what a clever finish. You know, kidding the goalkeeper on that he was going to drive across him, and then he rolled it round the defender into the bottom corner. Absolutely to the blueprint. That's what we can do when it clicks.
I mean,
Um,
I don't think Kane actually had that great a game yesterday, but still he produced the goods. You know, that's just a
Absolutely.
man. He's unreal. He's a machine. So except for the penalty he missed, I mean, that's unusual for him, and that really is. I think he's only ever missed two before that I can ever remember.
Yeah, he even the goalkeeper admitted that, having played against him and trained with him, that it wasn't his cleanest strike and he was going for the top corner. Didn't quite
Mm,
hit it. You know what? So what? Maybe that just makes him focus a little harder for the next
yeah,
game. So, but
yeah.
again, that's gone. He won't worry about that.
Now and his second goal, there was an element of frustration there because you'd see him. He looked quite angry that I think Sessegnon had got in position to basically sort of just whip it across to him, and it would have been an easy tap in. Fucked it up.
Yeah,
But then it comes the pigeon, and with the outside of his boot whips it in, and Kane just a nice simple header, wasn't it? But he looked like he was about to smash up the joint. Kane looked really, really fed up
yeah,
at that point, didn't he?
yeah. It's frustrating. That's all that's missing from Sessegnon game really. I think
Yeah.
Perisic would have sat that defender down and then brought it inside.
Mm,
Uh, but again, he'll learn. But then that's Harry Kane. That's gone. Let's switch on again, and he scores.
yeah.
And as for the penalty, I'm still trying to work out how that is not a red card. That's
Ah,
bonkers.
do you know what I mean?
That ball was dropping. That ball wasn't going to run flat. It
took
wasn't
it off his head.
rising. It was dropping. They're saying it was too high for him. That's why he handled it. It was dropping. It would have dropped onto his head.
Yeah,
Absolute. If that had been a Liverpool game, Sky Sports would have been running for that for a week.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to go all Liverpool here with like being a victim mentality, but to be honest, I do wonder if there's some sort of backlash still from that Romero incident because some of the refereeing decisions and VAR decisions have been baffling. I think. I mean, that is as clear as you like that was going to go onto his head, and he basically took it off his head with his hand,
Mm.
and then. We'll get into the Richarlison thing in a minute about the showboating, and then he got wiped. But that could be a bloody red card in itself. The way he cleaned him out like that.
Absolutely. Maybe last season it was,
Mm,
because there's no intent to get the ball, is there? He's gone in there to take him out, to wipe him out
yeah.
because he didn't like the fact that he did a bit of showboating.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? That's part and parcel of football.
Well, yeah,
Showboating's not illegal. It's
and it's not
ridiculous.
like he'd been doing it all game. He's a couple of keepy uppies, literally two or three, and then passed it, and then he after he'd passed it, he came in and just completely cleaned him out. No,
Mm.
he didn't even have the ball at the time.
No, and it's been shown today. A lot of people showing Luis Diaz doing something similar in the game against
Yeah.
Man City. I didn't see anybody try and wipe him out.
Mm,
It's pathetic from Carragher. I mean, shame on him for advocating kicking someone. But
yeah.
then
He'd never
then
do
he's
anything as disgusting as that, would he,
no,
Carragher?
he'd do worse. He'd do far worse. So
Yeah.
you know, it's ridiculous attitude. If you ask any fans on the continent whether that warranted someone getting kicked, they look at you like you're a madman.
Yeah.
I said, "What's that about?"
Totally. Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's not the 1980s.
So we almost say goodbye to August and also Kane's hoodoo of never scoring in August, eh? Four, I
Yes,
think he's
and
hadn't he?
and three headers, I believe, out of the four,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, for a man of his size, he doesn't score that many headers, but he's been just his movement generally has been excellent. We do look to have more purpose on set
Mm.
pieces and what have you generally, so I think that's helping him as well. His fitness levels clearly are miles above what they have been
Oh yeah.
previously, and even the Pochettino era, which was fitness levels were high. This looks to have gone up another level.
Mm, mm.
Um,
Oh yeah. They.
the,
I mean, to be fair, they all do. But Kane himself looks like absolutely in beast mode, doesn't he? In the way he's physically looking.
yeah, and I think it's been shown before with Conte's team. They tend to get into October, November before they really start
Well,
getting
that's it.
into a run, and
Well,
really putting the games together.
that sort of neatly, I suppose, sort of links back to what we were saying at the beginning about when the team clicks. I somewhat think that because sometimes we just look a little bit lethargic and a little bit slow to start. I think that's probably, again, I know it's guesswork, but it feels to me like this could be a legacy of the beasting they all had in the preseason, and they've been getting now to be ready for the rest of the season. So you probably won't need to do quite so much intense training, more sort of tactical stuff now, and because there's going to be so many games coming up. But because there's so many games coming up, and because we've got that incredible fitness level now, we're in a position where we just those games will keep it ticking over, and we'll grind into gear shortly.
Yeah, let's hope so. I heard one or two people making comments against Conte, saying that he doesn't deal very well with a busy schedule, which is why he hasn't done well in Europe previously. I think that's a very simplistic
Mm,
view of it. It can often be what's the personnel available to you at that time. Um, the World Cup is a pain in the backside because just at that period when perhaps we'll be really hitting our stride, we stop. So
hmm
that's
hmm
the big unknown. But I'd like to think that by the time we're into October, we can go up the road and give that lot a bashing,
Yeah.
and as we come to that break in the season, still be right up there and challenging.
Yeah.
I don't see any
Yeah.
reason why not.
Very unusual season. So I think there's a lot, a lot of ups and downs to come. But I think with that, the squad size we got, we got we've got a great chance of sustaining that afterwards. And I think a number of our players, some of them aren't going to the Cup, and I think that maybe will help us as well. I mean, as much as I know what a Dyer wants to go, in some ways I hope he doesn't. It'd be nice to have a fresh
Uh,
player.
don't know what he's done to upset Southgate, but not even putting him in the squad when other players have been desperately out of form for their clubs is just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see. But we do need to get some of these squad guys into the team some way or other. We've got to give Richarlison a chance. We've got to give Basuma. He might actually get a chance sooner than we thought because apparently Benton Core's took a
Yeah,
knock.
yeah, apparently. I don't know whether that happened in the game yesterday, or whether that was in training today, but had concussion apparently. And so one of the things is apparently Saar might not go out now,
Mm.
because of that. But so I don't know how long that'll last, but I can see probably Basuma will come in for him, I suppose, then, which is no bad thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Basuma against the West Ham.
Yeah. The only sort of slight drawback maybe is Benton Core's height, because we
Mm.
know that's what West Ham will be. That's the modus operandi, isn't it? It's set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
That's three guys in the side who are 6'4" and over. That's their bread and butter, and we have to be switched on for that. But yes, I mean, other than that, I'd love to see him get a run. If
Yeah.
the, if he, Spence, and Richarlison came in, I wouldn't mind that at all.
Should we be worried about Son?
No, I think it's just once he gets that goal and gets that monkey off his back, he'll be flying again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looks very untidy at the moment and laboured in everything he's doing, but he'll come good. We know he will.
He's beating himself up a bit. Like when you saw him going to the bench, you could see him like getting really angry with himself, I think. And so I reckon just the competition thing, he's not had that before. He can be a little bit of a streaky player. So I think he's just having a little spell at the moment. You can't, that player would walk into pretty much any team in the world.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's unhappy.
Mm,
I have to say our old friend Delhi, he was never sort of that fussed, was he? Every
no.
time He got hooked by Everton or by us in the end, sadly. Whatever happened to him, all the best players are angry when they come off the pitch and they haven't
Yeah.
scored.
Mm-hmm.
Sonny will be fine.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, and Kulusevski, I thought, had another great game as well. He just looks like he can make things happen all the time. It wasn't quite coming off for him yesterday, but a few times where he was coming and cutting in, and you thought he was going to do his trademark sort of bend one in, and he so close a couple of times.
The way he just eats up that ground, he doesn't look like he's travelling quickly, but he must be a sort of a big stride that eats up the ground, and the way he can just power away from people, it's such a weapon to have in our arsenal. That any team's got to be thinking we need two men to look after him.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
still a
it seems that
baby.
they are. They're doubling up on him, aren't they? They're like doubling up on Kane, doubling up on him. Because I think everyone realizes now that we really probably do have the best strike force, if not in in the Europe, but possibly in the Premiership. I mean, Salah isn't hitting any great form at the moment either. People seem to forget that, and yet nobody's really having a pop at him.
Yeah, the way these guys they all know their jobs, their positions. They've all proved that they can interchange and play with each other. Um, the effort it takes for the opposition to try and close them down because they'll change around, they'll come deep. We move people around. You notice after an hour how much space starts to open up because teams just cannot keep up that effort
No,
of just
yeah,
constantly trying to press us. Um, Speaking to a Chelsea fan at the weekend, apparently Jorginho has been absolutely dire since he played against us. For an hour, he looked like the best player on planet Earth and seems to have run
yeah.
himself into the ground and hasn't recovered yet. It's
Funny, isn't that?
it
There's a number of
show.
clubs that seem to have games of their life when they play us, and yet
Yeah,
all of a sudden their form drops off when they play anybody else.
yeah. I have to say that that's the other thing is our consistency because in the past we've always been able to pull out the odd result and then we go and play somebody mediocre and lose.
Mm,
That's not allowed anymore.
no, no.
The bar has been set so high now.
I mean, as a rule of thumb, if you are looking to win something, if you can put the dross away, say the dross, like there aren't really apart from Bournemouth any crap teams in the Premier League. Anyone can have a great game and surprise you. But if you generally put those teams away, and when they're playing their low block and they're trying to stifle the hell out of the game, and then you get some favourable results against your competitors at the very top, you're well in with a shout of winning top honours.
Absolutely, and that's what the players have to understand. It's once that season starts, that standard is set for every game, regardless of the competition, opposition, whatever. And that mentality change is the thing. And no excuses about feeling tired or anything like that's going to
No,
be allowed.
well
And it's a
that's what
joy to see.
Conte keeps saying it about suffering, and I don't know if you mentioned sorry yesterday, but his press conference yesterday and this morning again was mentioned suffering, 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 and the other one he came out with, I think, which one of the BBC reporters liked, was sporting war. It's a sporting war. He's coming up with these phrases, and this battle and suffering stuff. He really wants to communicate to, I think, not just the players, but to us, for for our fans to kind of understand this is kind of going to how it's going to have to be if we want to get over the line.
Especially for the opponent, to play here is not easy. It's not easy, and because you have one team against, but at the same time you have the crowd against you. But I think. We suffer in the right way, but I think at the end we chances. I think we created many chances to score today, and but Nottingham Forest is a really good team. It's not easy to come here and to get 3 points.
And your front three, or we could say front four, because we can include Richarlison in that, always will cause the opposition problems. However much the other side might have possession of the ball, you know that on the counter attack, those 3-4 players are going to give you chances.
Yeah, but